What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. This is TWA Motorsports, and today, right off the coattails of the last video on this truck, we are going to be yanking the seats out. We're going to be doing some scrubbing on the carpet. You guys know in that last video, you guys knew it was coming because we cannot handle this amount of dirt and grime. So I left all the outer panels off from us doing the headliner in the last video. I left these back panels off, the panel back there. And the main reason, guys, is there's like a 1/4 inch of dust there. We need these panels off in order to get the carpet down to the carpet where we need. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's probably a pretty good amount of dirt right there in that corner. And it's just not gonna fly. You guys know how I am. So either way, today we're gonna strip down a majority of the interior. I have no plans on putting the kill mat underneath the carpet, at least not right now. I did do that while I had the headliner out, but in this video, I am not planning on doing that. So the main thing I want to get addressed is just the carpet and just cleaning some stuff. Now, with that being said, we may put some different speakers. I noticed the stock speakers are back there. I may put some speakers there, and I'm probably gonna go ahead, since if I pull the carpet out, I am gonna go ahead and run some RCAs to the back in case I ever put a sub in here, and I'll probably go ahead and run an amp turn on. So anyway, you're gonna get to see a lot of stuff in this video. I'm gonna time lapse the majority of the floor cleaning depending on how in depth we go. I'll cut in and let you guys know, but let's get started by getting these seats out. Now, for the seats in a power seat truck like this is on this side, I like to take the fronts out first because I want the seat all the way forward when I remove it. So you don't have to do it that way, but you're just moving it multiple times. But I will tell you guys, it is a little bit different. It's an inverted hex, or an inverted Torx is what it is. You can see it right here, and you're gonna need a magnet for that as well. But those, you can use just a standard 6.15 millimeter. The back ones are bolts that go through the floor. These are just nuts. 15 in the back, 15 in the front, 11 in the back. So we're gonna whip those out really quick, and then the seat will be loose. Once you got them both loose, well, I say both loose, the front and the back is what I mean. This little clip comes off of here. It's stuck on the front. That guy there, we'll clean that up off camera. Here's our plug for our power seat. That's pretty much it. I should have unhooked the battery before I did that. Sometimes you get an airbag light. I may have to clear that out. So don't do what I just did. Unhook the battery before you do that, guys. But all we have to do is lift that seat straight up. That should be all that's plugged in. If you've got a main harness like this, if you have a non-power seat, guys, generally will have a seat belt connection somewhere underneath, but it's all incorporated within this if you have a power seat. So either way, before you unplug any seatbelt seats or lights or wires, guys, like I said, I should have unplugged the battery. But let's lift this seat out and see the nastiness underneath. Okay, it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's actually cleaner than I thought. It's just those corners that were under that plastic. It looked like somebody, I mean, I vacuumed under the seat as best I could. That's not terrible. So let's go knock the other one out. Once we get the other one out, then we can take that center console out as well. It's not the worst I've ever seen. Like I said, it's actually really clean under the center console. Pull these mats out here. And I'm gonna probably go ahead and take this guy out. The back looks pretty good. There's a couple stains. I don't know that I ever remember seeing one of these in a truck that's this long. Have you guys, let me know in the comments if you've seen one of these. I mean, this thing's huge. I don't know if we'll be putting that back in or not. I mean, if I put a sub back here, I was thinking about putting a single. I don't know. We'll just have to contemplate that. It depends on whether it'll fit on this guy or not. But I don't know that I've ever seen one of those, but it's really clean under there. That's what I want the whole entire carpet to look like. Let me go get that other mat out, and I guess we'll get started with picking up the coins for my youngest son. He'll love that. looks quite a bit better after just vacuuming it. You know, the stain's still there, but either way, I think we are going to yank this stuff out of here. So in order to do that, we really don't have a lot left. There's two 10 millimeters after you get the jack out. And then besides that, guys, just our pillars down there, or not our pillars, but our kick panels, and those just pull straight out. They just got two clips that hold those in. So we'll get those out of the way. And I mean, technically, yeah, okay, so there's a 13 millimeter underneath the dash. It's kind of a dash support there. You need to pull that plastic trim off. We'll do that and possibly get that 13 out, but that's really all there is to getting the carpet out at this point. Boy, do I get into some fun messes. But either way, we got it out. And one cool thing, guys, is, and I don't ever remember it doing this on a truck, but the insulation stayed on the floor. I don't remember that happening on the other stuff. I'm glad it did, don't get me wrong, because in my opinion, it's a little bit easier to just manage the carpet, which we've got laying over here on the floor. Got parts everywhere, guys. So because the insulation did not come with it, I'm going to probably power wash this. You guys, in several videos, I have used my extractor. I don't know how many people are like, you need to just take it out and power wash it. Well, guys, the downside with power washing one is it's super heavy, especially if you have all the insulation on. When that stuff gets water soaked, it takes forever to dry. It probably never actually gets dry. It probably mildews after you put it in, and it's incredibly heavy. On a regular cab, not as bad. Two people can manage it, but guys, I'm telling you, I'm kind of excited here because we can spray this down. I mean, we are going to suds it up a lot, really soak it down with some probably super clean, and we're gonna hit it with the power washer. Downside is it's night, it's freezing cold, so we're not gonna do that today. But what I am going to continue on is I'm gonna take my vacuum, and I won't show you guys this because it'll be hard to see with the colors, but I'm gonna vacuum all this area. I'm probably gonna go ahead and yank these guys out, these speed nuts, these 10 millimeters, just get that junk out of the way, give that a good scrub down with like a brush while I'm vacuuming. But like I said, guys, you're not gonna be able to see that, but I will tell you there's 4 speed nuts on each side to get that piece out. And we just wanna clean up under, you know, you can still see like sunflower seeds and coins and stuff that just snuck down under the carpet. So I'm gonna do that off camera. But maybe the next thing you guys will see is possibly us tearing into the radio. Maybe I can go ahead and run some wires while I'm waiting on a good day for this to wash. Well, I've got a somewhat warm day. It's not super warm. I'm up here in the top garage. So guys, here's what my plan is. We're gonna power wash this. I'm gonna get my power washer out here in just a second. But before I do that, I've got a bunch of super clean mixed up and a sprayer. I'm going to spray this down. I'm gonna soak it down quite a bit, especially these areas, you know, there's a bunch of gunk. I'm gonna really focus on those. I'm gonna get those really saturated. We're going to use a drill brush and a drill. So like this guy here, which you'll see, I'll try to time lapse the majority of this. And then we are just going to blast this stuff out. I brought the mats up here too. I've already power washed them once, but it's not gonna hurt to go over them again. So, you know, the downside is this does make a mess, but it's way easier than extracting each section. Now, I could use my extractor. It wouldn't be as big a mess, but ultimately, guys, since I was able to get this out without the padding on the bottom, I think it's gonna dry relatively quickly. So I wanna get it started so I can let it be setting while I'm cleaning up the other like trim pieces and whatnot. So let's get started with the spray. Now you can see why it's nice if it's warm. I'm soaking wet already, just scrubbing, guys. But you can see the nasty foam that we got out of there. So we're gonna go over it now and see what we can blow out. This takes a lot of time to like, it's nice when you have your own power washer, you're not doing it with the car wash because it takes you a fortune to do it. But we're gonna try to blow it out until, you know, a majority of what runs out's clear. This probably would have cost you about $200 at a car wash, but guys, it is not perfect. I can tell you that. So I don't know if you guys can tell the color variation here. You can still see I've scrubbed on it. It's just not going to come out in those areas. And so, you know, ultimately, guys, this is why most of the time I generally choose to replace carpet, because you normally can't get it as clean is what you think you can. You know, if you're starting with something that's pretty ratty. You know, I've noticed the areas back here, I don't know if you guys can see that too, but it's pretty rough also. So here's my plan now, to kind of accelerate the drying process. I'm gonna go grab my shop vac. I'm gonna put kind of a different wand on it. I think I've got a clear one that'll fit it. So I'm gonna try that, and we're gonna suck a majority of the water out. Like I said, that just kind of helps accelerate the drying process. The other thing, guys, is if you have, I mean, there was no foam coming out at the end of this, but if you have any of that, that'll kind of pull that out as well. Because what happens is if you let it dry like this, it'll get kind of stiff. Now I'll go back and brush it anyway, but like I said, it just kind of helps it dry and not get as stiff. Now you can see, you know, those spots, like I said, guys, they're just not, it's not going to come out. But we've went over it. If you're wondering a couple things, first of all, look at that water, the amount of water I pulled out, but look at the dirt in my garage. So we definitely pulled some dirt off this thing, that's for sure. So I'm going to get this laid out, let it dry, and then we'll go from there. We'll try to figure out, do we want to try to dye it a little bit to make it look a little darker? Because I've noticed it's kind of faded in some spots. So we can either do that, we can either dye it, or we can put it back in once it dries and, you know, just kind of live with it. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm trying to decide, but I'll know a little more once it dries. I'm gonna vacuum it again, probably a couple more times, and then we'll take a look at it once it's dried and it's all vacuumed off. Got the carpet down here drying now, and wow. You know, like I said, guys, I'm not loving the way that's looking, so I don't know if we may put it back in. I don't know, we'll see. But either way, I've got some cleaning to do here because I want to clean all the dirt and dust out of these channels, off the floor. I want it to look
you know, really nice. I know that nobody ever sees this, but look, here's what we need to do. First of all, guys, make sure your battery has been unplugged for about 10 minutes before you go messing with your airbag. But we need to unplug this. We need to get, generally there is also a ground here, but maybe there's not. Oh, it doesn't look like there is. Okay, I want to take this padding out, but in order to do that, we need to unplug this harness, and I'm just going to kind of loop it out the door. I'm not going to unplug all the way up to there, but I am going to unplug. It goes to the other side. There is a 10 millimeter ground on that side, and then there's a plug on that kind of goes up from that wire. So I'm going to try to bring all that over here. That way we can get this out. I'll vacuum this. I mean, I've already vacuumed the top of it, but I'm going to vacuum it again, and then we'll get started on cleaning this stuff, like these little areas here. See, we got that draped out the door over here. All we had to do is unplug it on that side, get that tin out, like I said. And guys, it's not terribly bad because, you know, majority of it was covered, but like I said, I'm just wanting to wipe it down, and then I'll use my little detail brush. I won't even show you guys that, just the little detail boar's hair brush in the corners, and just getting this all cleaned up. So I'll do that off camera, and then at that point, we're to the point where we could start going back together. And like I said, guys, I'm pretty sure since I've got it all apart, I'm probably going to go ahead and run some RCAs for a sub down the road, or multiple subs, I don't really know. But the other thing is I'm going to run a power wire. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do there. I also have a backup camera. I'd really like to do that all in a separate video, but it's really nice when you have everything out of the way. It's really kind of nice to, you know, do things then. But we'll just we'll see what happens. I need to clean this first. So after maybe, I don't know, 20-30 minutes, got it all cleaned up. Looks a lot better. So now I'm going to vacuum off. It's kind of smeary over there. I'm going to go over it one more time, but I'm going to vacuum this off one more time with like I've got a brush that fits on the end of my vacuum, and then I'm going to vacuum off this, and we're going to get set back into place. I went ahead, got everything hooked up as far as wiring goes, and then I started putting the little speed nuts with the piece that retains your closeout panel here. So put those in, the 10 millimeters. They kind of come up underneath the door trim, this rubber trim here. So you kind of put them up underneath there. Went ahead and cinched down the 10 millimeters. And then I've got the wire hide, or it's kind of a channel that keeps the wires out of anything. I've got that in place, got those all cleaned up. So I'm gonna do that same thing on the other side, but then, like I said, guys, I think we're gonna grab a little bit of stereo wire, maybe the RCAs, and what I may do is just kind of lay them out, get them kind of where I wanna go before I start pulling any of the dash apart and trying to find a way to get to the battery and to get to the radio. What my initial thought here is I am gonna go ahead, I think, and run the backup camera stuff. I really want to come out through the grommet under the hood over here, so I don't want to drill any more holes. So I'm thinking the power and the backup camera, we're going to go out that direction, which we'll show you later. And the ground, I think I'm going to use that ground that's already there to ground the amplifier. I think the amp will be on the other side, opposite of like my green truck. And so that's the plan here. So get all the stuff hooked up for the amp, and we'll get the wires out and kind of move them around and see where we want them to set. Let's look at our current situation. So guys, this is almost dry, and you can see, man, it just doesn't look good. It's still got a lot in it. I'm not happy with it. So we're thinking about what we're gonna do here, whether we're gonna try to dye this or replace it or what, I don't know. But in the meantime, while I figure it out, we're gonna go ahead and run some speaker wire. Like I said, I had planned on doing this anyway, but what we've got here is a kit from Kicker. You guys have seen me use this multiple times. I'll list it in the description. These are actually from Stinger. I used part of this Kicker kit in my son's car, but now we're not putting subs in his, so I'm gonna be using the power wire for it. That's what this is. Or maybe this is Stinger and that's Kicker. No, this is Kicker. Yeah. Either way, buy good quality wire, guys. Don't cheap out there. But what I'm thinking is our ground. Remember I said I think we're gonna put our amp on this side, and I'd like to run my ground right here. So we're not trying to find a new place to ground. We know this is a good ground. The factory uses it a ground. So I'm gonna take my 10 millimeter and I'm gonna go ahead and ground this out right here.
Once I do that, I'm gonna kind of tuck it under this for now and kind of loop it up maybe back here somewhere. Now, the power wire is a different story. I think what I'm going to do, guys, it's gonna be a little more in depth, but I'm going to yank the wheel off the front side over there, and we're gonna go through the inner fender, kind of up where that box is. There's a grommet up above that, and that's where I'd like to go through if possible. It's where I went through in the past, and so that's the goal. The other thing is the RCAs. For now, I'm just gonna kind of drape them up because I don't have my key out here to get this guy out of the way. So we'll deal with that here in a little bit, but let me get my 10, get this in place, and we're gonna go get the wheel off the other side. Let's see what I've got here. Got the ground wire coming underneath. Probably shouldn't have lifted that up just then, but yeah, you can see it popping out here. Good ground, don't have to drill any holes, works perfect. Let's get to the other side. A little bit of change of plan. I went ahead and used my clip removing tools, got this off, and guys, I have no more access here than I have from up above. I thought I would, but I don't. I don't know if the fenders are shaped different in different trucks. That could be the issue, but in my gray crew cab, when you pulled this out of the way, you had access, more access to the box at least. So since we don't, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together, and we're gonna go back up top. I went ahead and took the 13s out that hold this little protector in. Here's what else I did. I've got this unplugged, and I'm gonna go ahead and take those 10 millimeters out. There's just 3 of them, guys. It's not a lot of work to get a little more access and to be able to see a little bit better. So that's my plan. I've got them just kind of draped over here. One of them has a lock on it. Just make sure you slide it out of the way and then kind of wiggle it back and forth, get it unplugged. But now let's get these 10s out, get this box out of the way. This is actually your throttle controller. But get it out of the way, and then we should be able to see what we're wanting to work with here. Now you can see how well we can get to that big rubber grommet. Now, here's what I'll tell you guys. It separates into 2 pieces. There's kind of like a center intersection on the inside, but this outside piece that we're looking at, it's taped from the factory around the opening. That's fine. I'm gonna poke a hole in it, but I wanted to have as much access as possible in order to poke the hole. So that's my plan. What I may do is just go ahead and like pull it through, either pull it towards me or push it towards the inside of the truck, and we can work on it that way. To get my camera in here and show you guys, but see if we can get it up here and take a look. So I've separated the inner piece. You guys can see that. I pulled it back a little bit. And what that gives us is a lot of pliability with the outer piece, the piece that separates the firewall from everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread our wire through the outer, or that piece that I've got pulled towards me here. We're going to thread it through that because it'll go through the center of that. It's not taped up. And then we're going to poke a hole in the outer ring, just like either right above or right below where all those wires go through. And that's where we're going to thread our power line through. There's actually 2 things that I'm pushing through this grommet, and I'm going to reference the rest of it for another video. But we've got our power wire started through that, what looks like a washer there. And then we've got a line for our backup camera, guys. I've been wanting to add one of those since we have the doubled in radio, but hopefully you guys can see that I've got what looks like a rubber washer pulled out of the center of that, like I said earlier. And I have the wire started because, like I said, you can get through the middle of that. Now we have to make a little bit bigger hole. I generally use a screwdriver, and a pretty good size screwdriver will make a hole under the hood for that. So let me show you here. I started it with a smaller screwdriver, but it wasn't quite big enough. I don't know if you guys can see right above, there's a hole there. So we're gonna cut that a little bit more. And I might even just take a box knife and just cut kind of an X. That way, we've got enough room to get both wires through. After quite a bit of a fight, you can see I've got the kicker wire here and the wire for the backup camera there. Now, I need to thread a majority of this back through. And guys, look, it's gonna take some time to do this. You gotta cut. Generally, poking a screwdriver through there is the easiest way to make a hole. That stuff is super thick. But what I like about it, it's also kind of comes back up together. So I don't really think we're gonna have to worry about any leaks. I've never had any problems. I've done this on all these trucks. So Either way, I need to pull some slack through here. We need to get that rubber washer back in the center. That's going to be pretty tough. Push this back up against the firewall, and that'll be it for getting the wire under the hood. Now, a majority of the backup camera wire will be under the hood here until I get to that point. But we need enough to go obviously to the back side of the dash as well. Got it pulled back into the firewall where it's nice and snug. So while I'm in here, I'm going to clean out some of this leaves and debris. You know how I am. This could really snowball quickly, but I'm just going to vacuum this out. Then we'll get the box back in place that we took out up there. And that's pretty much it, guys. We've got the wire ran into the cab, and then we'll go from there. Got all this stuff kind of cleaned up a little and reinstalled up here. Of course, my wires are just kind of hanging out. We'll get to that a little later. Anyway, I want to show you what I did here. So I got the box back in place, did a little bit of cleaning on this area up here that I didn't get quite as good as I thought I did. But guys, look, this is really nice because I've got it going back behind this box. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and put my box cover back on, I think. I don't see any reason why I couldn't. Well, you know what? I may wait until we get the carpet back in. But there's like a little channel here. It's got a holder and then a little channel that comes down the side. And so you can see we've got it tucked in this outer piece, went underneath this, and then I've kind of got it draped just back to here. So that's good for now. Now we need to focus our attention on getting this one kind of routed up away from everything under the dash, and we need to get that radio out so we can plug some of this stuff back in the back, and of course get the RCAs and the amp turn on. We're going to run those down that side. I want to show you guys this because I thought this was really interesting. So I'm digging around under the dash, you know, kind of cleaning stuff up down here, getting ready to remove this panel as well as around the radio. I'm going to put this thing down in first gear, get this panel off so we can run this backup camera wire up there. But check this out. So I'm feeling around. I didn't know where these wires came from. You guys saw those earlier. Check out what I found. It's a GPS tracker. No idea if the owner still has it live. It's unplugged now, but that is what these wires are for. I thought they kind of just went up back behind the dash here, and I started feeling around, and this was Velcroed up in there. So interesting. Don't know what the deal is with that, because I don't think this was like a work truck at any point, but maybe it's, I don't know, somebody trying to find somebody. Either way, we're taking that out. I'm going to go ahead, guys, like I said, put this down and drive and get this guy off. Probably going to take this panel off. I don't think I'm gonna have to take the glove box off. I think I can work around that, but let's get these off. Just a couple 7mm down here at the bottom, clips up top, and I may not even have to take this off. Now that I'm looking, I don't think I'm gonna take this off. I don't think there's any point in it. I can get up underneath all this and kind of route it up above like the parking brake release and so on and so forth, and get it underneath this right here and up to the back of the radio. So I think we'll just do it that way, as opposed to pulling extra stuff off. The other thing, guys, is on this, what I'll do is I'll probably pull it down like that and then push that down and do the same thing here, so I don't have to take this whole panel off. The more you take these off, the more likely you are to break the clips, especially as these things get older. I've already taken it off once when I did this install here for the USB, and I cleaned this all up, but I don't want to take it off any more than I have to. So we'll just drop that down here in a minute, and I'll kind of show you guys the routing if I can get underneath and show you where the wires are going. We're also going to have to get a 7mm and get the radio out. You can see that we did a couple things, took the 7s out, got the AC controls out, got the radio out, obviously, guys. I don't normally like to hang it like this, but everything's soldered, so we should be fine. Just be careful. Anyway, we got a lot of lead here. The only thing we didn't have a lot of lead on, I had to unplug the antenna, but you can see that I've got my backup camera routed up here. So I'm gonna get it back behind this stuff so it's actually coming through with the radio. And we have an additional connector that we have to hook up on the back of this radio to even make the backup camera work. Actually, I take that back. Here's the backup camera here. It's for the RCAs, because there's no direct plugs for the RCA outputs on the back side of the radio. They are, there's a plug that goes in here that I got to get out of the original box. So I'm going to go grab that too. But in the meantime, I'm gonna loop this through. This should be all we have to do on this particular thing. This pigtail is if you weren't getting power, but this harness that I put in should recognize when this thing's in reverse. And we're gonna test that because I'm not gonna run all this wire and it not work. So we're gonna test it before, but it should recognize when it's in reverse and turn this camera on. Let's take a look at what we've done now. We've got all the wires ran into this inner channel, okay? So this is the amp turn on and the RCAs. And we come up here, I've zip tied to all this stuff. I still need to go in and cut my tails off. Up into here, behind the glove box. You guys can see here, I still haven't cut the tails off. There's actually a hole in the heater box. And up into where the radio is. So you can see my RCAs and my amp turn on right here. So I'm gonna hook those up to the back of the radio. I don't feel like you guys need to see me do that. Cut all these tails off, but ultimately I've got it back here where I need it. And for now, I'm just gonna kind of leave it on top of everything and worry about getting the radio hooked up. And the backup camera, I'm gonna test under the hood so we can make sure that it works. So let me cut all these tails off. We'll get the amp turn on wired on to the amp turn on there. I already have, you can see it plugged in here. And then of course, plug in my RCAs. Got everything tucked back in the dash, nice and neat. All our wires are ran to the back, both sides. Guys, we're ready to try this. So here's what we're gonna do. I don't have an amp to test that, so I may just test the voltage off camera with the key on. But what I can do, left the key on actually. I don't have the battery hooked up. I'm gonna hook up the battery real quick. I'm going to kind of tie the leads for the backup camera around the battery up front and grab the backup camera, and I'll show you that here in just a second, but just wanted to show you it all back at the dash. Let's just hope that all we need is the reverse light to come on. Generally how these work is, guys, anytime they see a feed, they will automatically turn on. At least the newer stuff generally works that way. So I'm hoping that red wire that was on the side of the RCA for the backup camera doesn't actually have to see power. They generally don't. But either way, we're gonna give it a shot. I use these alligator clips all the time. I bought these for testers, and believe me, they are awesome. So kind of how this works is we've got to plug in, so this is the wire that we ran through the cab, and basically it's just like an RCA. All right, so that needs to plug in to the camera. You can see that there, plugged in. You see the camera's all lit up now. So here's the other thing. I've got the alligator clips. The camera requires power. So you could see, I bought a cheaper camera this time. I wanted to try it. I don't know why the light's on right now, because it shouldn't. I don't know. May have to. Oh, it's got power to it. That's why it's grounding out through this. All right, that makes sense. All right, so because I didn't hook my ground up yet. But anyway, so the camera only has 3 hookups. It's got the RCA that we hooked up, so the wire that goes into the cab. This part goes to the camera, and then you have a ground and a positive. So the positive obviously is going to go to the backup light or the reverse light. Once it turns on, that engages the light. And then the black, guys, is just a ground, but it seems as though it would work without grounding it. I don't know if that's the case. I wonder if I took it out of this. Well, I've got it hooked up to the battery now. Those are the backup lights to kind of give it more light in the dark. But let's give it a try and see if we should be seeing the 72 when we put it in reverse. So I should be able to just turn the thing on. Hopefully our radio comes on. And then we're gonna put it down in reverse without starting, and that should automatically give us a feed. So let's try it. Yes, warning, okay. I guess I gotta put my foot on the brake. And I'm not getting one. See how there's no feed? So we may have to, man, I'm hoping not, hook up a wire to let it know it's in reverse. Generally these things automatically know. I wonder if it has to be started. I don't think so, but we're gonna try it that way. Nope. All right, So there's more to the equation, I guess. Just messing around with it, guys, and with it turned on, if I go to camera view, it's working. So it's gotta be that hookup. There's a wire on the back of this radio that says reverse camera output or reverse camera. I don't know. I'm gonna pull this thing out and we're gonna check that wiring. So I found out, I'm gonna solder this. I'm gonna check it first before I solder it. But on the pack harness, there is a green wire. Looking through the manual, it says that's the reverse output. Then we have the purple with the white stripe on the radio that's an input. That's probably why. So let's give it a shot again. I don't know if I can do this without making a mess, but we're gonna attempt to turn the truck on and put it in reverse and see what we get. Okay. So that was the problem. So guys, I'm gonna clean this all up. I had to tear some stuff apart, obviously, to get it. But now, when we go back into drive, that should shut the camera off. And it does. Okay. So that was our problem. Not a big deal. We just had to tear some stuff apart to get to it. So now I can wrap all this back up and put this back in the dash again. I went ahead and put everything back in place after tidying that up. And guys, we are finished with that part. So I have a couple options right now because it's hooked to the reverse light to get its power. If you wanted to hook constant power to it and like maybe put a switch on it, you could. But now if we go down to reverse, you can see we've got our camera. So I moved it around a little bit. But the other thing is, if you notice, there's two sets of lines. So there's a set of lines on the radio itself that's programmed in, and then there's another set. If you cut the little green wire, let me show you what I'm talking about out here, because we're not, like I said, we're not going to put that in right now. But if you cut this little green wire, this guy right here, matter of fact, let's cut it, and we should lose a set of our lines. Now you could turn the set off in the radio, but honestly I think the lines in these cheaper cameras look kind of hokey. So let's just cut this. So now when we turn it on, it should only have one set of lines, and that's the ones in the radio. So if you ever wanted to just take them off, because I don't know, I don't really think they're necessary. See how we only have one set of lines now? And we could turn those off as well within the radio. But we are finished, like I said. So now I did get something else. I got some new 4x6s for the back. I went back and forth on doing this, but ultimately, guys, I thought, look, we've got all this apart. We'll buy some. I bought the same brand, the MBX that we put in the door a while back. That is what we're going to be putting in. So I think I'm going to grab those next, and we'll get to those. Now these are similar to the front speakers in that they're clipped in. So we're not going to be reusing the clips. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to use two hands. So there's a clip up at the top. We push that down and then we can pull this thing out. Now guys, I don't think there's any other way other than cutting these wires to do what I want to do. So that is, chances are that's probably what we're going to do. You can see here I've got it marked. So we're going to punch that, use my center punch, and we're going to drill those holes out. I've got the holes drilled, and you guys can see that I have these inserts in here to catch them. These come with the speakers, so that's good. All right, also on to these. If you guys don't have any ends like this, you can just purchase those. I'll try to list those in the description down below. You need a small one for the negative, a big one for the positive. But I've also got some heat shrink on here, and I've got these twisted together. So black goes, well, let's just do it this way. Ground or negative is your yellow, positive is the brown. On the other side, I've got that hooked up, ready to go as well. All the same stuff. Light blue is your positive and dark blue is your negative. Actually, just the opposite of what I just said. Light blue is a negative, dark blue is a positive, sorry. So I'm gonna solder these up off camera, get this heat shrinked, and then we'll be ready to put our speaker in. I did take a little bit of my kill mat and go around the outside where the speaker sets. And now guys, all we have to do, that we got this soldered and heat shrinked up, I'm gonna tape it up and run it through here and hook the speaker up and get it set into place. Just got those things in and I tested them. I'm gonna open the door again so the light comes on, and we are working. Man, they sound so much clearer. In combination with the ones in the door, guys, they're just, I just don't think you can buy a better speaker for the money. I really don't. So I was just listening. I went back and forth, listened to my green truck, and the green truck is better. But you have to realize that it also has a way more expensive speaker. I think I spent $400, $450, I think, for the door, the mids, the tweeters, and the back speakers. So big difference too. You know, these were, I think these were 85-ish, and the ones in the back were like, well, they were 40. So guys, here's where I'm at. I'm going to end this video right here. And the reason why is because I have yet to figure out what I'm going to do as far as carpet. Now, I've went back and forth. Am I going to order some new carpet, and am I going to buy like a aftermarket like I did in the crew cab, or am I going to try to clean a little more on this? Here's what I did try. You can see where it's darker right there and right there. I tried some dye, so SEM dye. The problem is the dye that I tried here is the dye that matches the 99 to 02 trucks, and so it's not going to match if I use that. So what I'm looking for is the color that actually matches this truck, and I think I found some. The downside is it's really scarce, so it's really hard to get, and for some reason I don't know why, but I'm thinking I may try that. So in the next video, guys, we are probably going to address the carpet. We're definitely going to get this thing back together with the carpet. I'm going to do a little more cleaning on the seats, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed this process so far. Hopefully you like the new speakers and just a little cleanup. Sometimes it's kind of satisfying just to watch vacuuming. I know that I catch myself watching like videos of people cleaning stuff and vacuuming. So if you did, like always, guys, please go down there and smash that thumbs up button. Guys, if you are not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, while you're down there, ring that bell icon. That notifies you every time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see this thing come back together.